your sleeping problem could be happening because your pulse rate is just too high. So in this video, I'm going to talk about all the reasons why your pulse rate could be too high. Number one, it could be a vitamin B1 deficiency, which a lot of times comes from a high carb diet. There's many other causes, and I've done many videos on B1, but if you're deficient in B1, you could have a higher pulse rate. All right, number two, a potassium deficiency. Potassium is a physiological tranquilizer. It calms the nervous system down. If you're deficient in potassium, your pulse rate will tend to be on the high side, and also your blood pressure will also be on the high side. And so what can create a potassium deficiency? Well, it could be you're just not consuming enough potassium. So you need to consume more salads, because if you start having bigger salads, like at least 7 cups a day, you're going to get more potassium and magnesium, which is another mineral to help calm things down. Also, a high carb diet will cause a potassium deficiency. Too much acid. So if you're too acidic, that can cause tachycardia, or it can raise your pulse rate. I remember consuming a whole bottle of kombucha tea right before bed, and my pulse rate was like boom, 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 boom. So that's one thing to look for. Number 4, stress. If you're stressed out, that can raise cortisol or adrenaline. I have a lot of videos on that, so I'll put that link down below. But cortisol and adrenaline can keep your pulse rate too high. I mean, try to sleep if you're in a stress situation or you're being chased by a tiger. Next one is overtraining. If you exercise too much, that can keep your pulse rate up. And that really has a lot to do with number 7, which is an autonomic nervous system dysfunction. If you're deficient in your parasympathetic nervous system, the recovery system, and you're kind of sympathetic dominant, and you exercise too much, that's not a good combination. So what you need to be doing is long walks, and you need to restore the autonomic nervous system by more vitamin B1. That will help. But overtraining is a thing that can definitely keep your pulse rate higher. I remember in practice one time, I had this lady come in, and I told her to exercise in my clinic because we had a little gym, and her pulse rate went up to 158. She comes back the next day, her pulse rate was still at 158. And I tested her, and she had no parasympathetic nervous system, which is the recovery system. It actively pushes your pulse rate down. So that was a good lesson for me, that you really want to check the person's recovery system before you have them exercise, especially if it's a higher pulse rate type exercise. Number 6, a hot flash will increase your pulse rate. Number 8, certain medications will increase your pulse rates. Anemia is another thing that can increase your pulse rate. Next one is a hyperthyroid situation. And by the way, if you have hyperthyroidism and you take B1, that can help with that condition. 11, either you have high blood sugars or a low blood sugar situation. That can increase your pulse rate. I have a lot of videos on both of those conditions. And 12, and I should have put this higher up on this list, but a gallbladder problem. If you start the ketogenic diet and you have a gallbladder problem, and you add all this fat to the diet, and you don't have enough bile salts because of various situations, it could overload the gallbladder and create more sludge within the gallbladder system. And I'm not even talking about a gallstone. I'm just talking about a backup into the bile ducts, which creates pressure in the liver, which is right next to the heart, and that can create a pulse rate situation. So if you start keto and you're adding all this extra fat from these keto bombs, or you're eating all this butter, or you're adding MCT oil, you might want to just consume the fat that normally comes with the protein until you can build up that bile reserve, and at the same time take some good gallbladder support. And I put a link down below if you want more information on that. All right, so let's go through the list of things that you can do. If you're having more fat, maybe reduce the fat, take bile salts, number 1. Number 2, increase your potassium and magnesium from the foods, more salads, and you can also get it in an electrolyte powder as well. Number 3, decrease the amount of protein if you're on a high protein diet, and make sure it's a moderate amount of protein, okay? Because too much protein can act as a stimulant, and that can rev up the engine. And especially if you're deficient in potassium, you can actually prevent someone's sleep by having too much protein. All right, number 4, tone down the amount of exercise you're doing and the intensity of exercise. If you're doing CrossFit, you might want to not do CrossFit because your recovery might be too low. Number 5, cut down some of the caffeine. I always recommend just doing 1 cup of coffee per day. If I do more than 1 cup of coffee, and I'm talking like a small cup, that will affect my sleep. So watch the caffeine on that. Number 6, low carb. Number 7, go on long walks in nature, very important. And number 8, regulate your breathing. So when you're sleeping at night, you may find that your breathing is erratic or you're in the stress mode with this breathing. So really slow down and regulate the breathing in and out. So the inhalation is the same as the exhalation, and focus on that. You can even focus on your stomach coming out and your stomach coming in and that breathing. And that will tend to help you actually control the autonomic nervous system because you're actively affecting your breathing, which then can affect that part of the nervous system. All right. Thanks for watching. I'd like to share with you on how to pull yourself out of any stressful situation extremely quick. You can also definitely use this if you're struggling to sleep at night or you're trying to go to sleep, but you have too much stress. But I'm going to show you a technique that's completely free. It's very simple, it's very quick, and it has many, many benefits. It's the fastest thing that I know of to put you in a calm state. It can actually even help increase your DHEA, which is kind of the precursor for all of your adrenal hormones. It has been shown to improve immune defense and increase oxytocin, which is kind of like they call it the love hormone or the hormone that helps you bond with another. And it's a major pleasure hormone too. It can help lower your blood pressure, decrease your pulse rate, and increase something called alpha wave brain waves, which will help you feel attentive, calm, and totally relaxed. It'll also support your neurotransmitters, specifically dopamine and serotonin. Basically, it will put you in a state of parasympathetic balance. Okay. The parasympathetic nervous system is part of the autonomic nervous system, and it is the thing that is called rest and digest. It is the mode where your body gets into that help calm down that sympathetic nervous system. And this is based on a recent book that I'm reading called Heart Coherence 365. And let me explain what that means, that heart coherence. It's a fancy word for synchronizing your heart to your emotions, your heart to your brain. And there's quite a bit of science behind this, but it's basically a simple breathing technique to put you in a state of peace and calmness that will help you sleep and help you rest and do a lot of other cool things. 365, okay? 3 means 3 times a day. 6 means 6 breaths per minute. And so you're going to slow down your breaths a little bit. And 5 indicates 5 minutes. So basically, you have this certain pattern of breathing, which is 6 repetitions per minute. And you're going to do that for 5 minutes, 3 times a day. So that's the simplicity of it. Okay. So apparently, the research that's done on this wavelength that you're creating, this wave of breathing pattern, creates some really amazing things to your nervous system. In fact, you probably already have learned this from other videos that I've done, but this makes it really, really simple. And I like the book because he gives the science behind it. And of course, I'm going to just add one little thing, which will make sense. So you have to make sure that it's controlled breathing. You have to make sure that it's deep and it's even. And then you want to breathe through your stomach. So you just kind of stick it out and in so you can have a nice deep breath using your diaphragm. But also, I'm going to add my own little 2 cents to this. I want you to breathe through your nose because that way you'll get a little bit more CO2 to extract more oxygen. And what's interesting is you need CO2 to allow oxygen to penetrate deeper into the cells. So this really sounds just so simple and it's like almost, can it really do that? But oh my goodness, I mean, there's been many times where in the middle of the night I'll wake up for some reason and start to think about something or some stress. And then I will start breathing, slowing it down, breathing in, breathing out, and it pulls me right out of that stress, allows me to go back to sleep. Also, getting to sleep at night. You can start doing this breathing, keeping very even in and out, 6 cycles per minute. That can help you get to sleep. And there's a really cool device called HRV, heart rate variability, that I hopefully at the time you're watching this have some more information about. I'll put a link down below to basically measure where you are on the heart rate variability, which has a lot to do with these 2 systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So you have a tool to measure where you're at, and then you can improve it over time because this breathing technique is one of the things that will improve and increase HRV, which is heart rate variability, which has
a lot to do with your health reserve and your fitness reserve. Now, because of the censoring and the suppressing of the algorithms on YouTube, it's becoming more difficult to find my content. And there's a lot of content that I cannot put on YouTube, unfortunately. So to make sure you have full access of all my information, go to drberg.com and subscribe to my newsletter by clicking the link down below in the description. I will see you on the other side.